Hey, welcome to this episode of Black Bee Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Care Oregon, who's been dedicated to making healthcare work for everyone for the last 30 years, and the Oregon Health Authority, coming together for change, because when it comes to health, we're all connected. Yo, welcome to this episode of Black Bee Podcast. Hi, I'm John Washington, your host, joined by my guest and co-host, Fawn Aberson. She already knew she was going to be a guest. As always, we're here to tackle some of the issues that hit hardest to our community, coming from an unapologetically Black perspective. Now let's talk. Our communities are feeling the impact of Oregon's drug crisis in deep and damaging ways.
Yes, John, yeah. We've all seen how fentanyl and substance abuse have led to homelessness, trauma, and real harm, not just for those struggling with addiction, but, their families, businesses, and neighborhoods. Our kids see it, our elders see it, and our businesses are hit by it. Today, we're joined by two incredible voices from the Miracles Club.
I'm trying to tell you, the head in charge.
A Black-led recovery center that has been a lifeline for Portland's African American community. Executive Director Julia Mind brings decades of experience in the recovery work, and with her is Kayla Moore, a survivor who turned her own pain into purpose.
Wow.
So together we're going to explore some tough questions, ladies, and some honest truths. So Julia and Kayla, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, man. I'm sorry, y'all. This brings back old memories for me. This is where my heart lives, Julia. So welcome to the house. We've been trying to break Miracle's story, which we don't break nothing. Compared to the history of miracles, we only try to bring to light formulas for successful living. They don't belong to me. They out there, and y'all is one of them. So, man, welcome again today to both of y'all. Now, come on, man, let's dive into this here. Tell us a little bit about what's going on these days with Miracles.
Well, Miracles is, we're climbing a mountain. The mountain, I set the mountain when I walked in on November 26, 2019, and I visioned this mountain, and we're halfway up that slope.
Wow.
I came in, Miracles was pulling in maybe $100,000 a year, and we could barely keep the doors open, keep the lights on. So I came in, and within 6 months, we began to write grants, talk about, going to the table with the people. Because I'm a firm believer that if you're not at the table, you're on the table to be chopped. So I got to the table.
I heard you there, girl.
Yeah, I got to the table, and I started talking to the county about we need more money. This is a long-standing African American entity that has been around for 30 years. But we can't even, I had 4 staff when I walked in there. And we couldn't, I told the county, we can't survive off of this. Our African American recovering community is suffering, and we can't even keep the doors open to help them. So, I talked enough and rant enough, and my operations manager said that I was, what did he say? I was very, very aggressive. I was clutching my pearls when he told me that. I said, I'm just being assertive. But when Black women use their voice, all of a sudden we're aggressive, we're overbearing, we're this, we're that. So I just kept using my voice.
Well, right on.
Because I was real clear. A professor of mine, when I was at Portland State University going for my master's degree, she told me I had did a presentation on Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And back then, a lot of people didn't know about Black Wall Street, even though it's come to the light now. But back then, a lot of people didn't know about it. And so I'm in this class with young white folks, right, that are there to get their LCSWs and go on and do their own practices and stuff. Well, I was headed to social services for our community. And I did this presentation, and I was gone the next week. And people complained about how aggressive I appeared and how this and how that. And thank God I had an African American, the teacher was African American, and she pulled me to the side and said, they said that you were too aggressive and they were afraid of you. And like I told her then, I'm old enough to be their grandmother.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest one in this class, and I'm sorry that I'm being myself, but I ain't here to hurt nobody. I'm just here to give some information and get my information.
Yeah.
And so she told me then, because of your voice, if you're not at the table, you'll be on the table to be chopped.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I believed
Yeah.
every word she said.
Yeah.
So therefore, I made my presence known.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in light of what you're up against something equally as aggressive.
That's
I think
right.
the disease of addiction is probably more aggressive than any of us.
Yes,
if I-
absolutely.
Right. So what's when you came through? Did you inherit an intact ship when you took the helm, or was the helm a little bit?
The helm
wavering?
was kind of rocky. I'm not going to say that it was not intact, but the late, great Michael Booker,
Right.
I
remember
took
Mike,
his
yeah.
place,
Right.
you know, after he passed
Right.
away.
Right.
And Miracles was on a downslide.
Yeah.
It was on a downslide. It had somebody as an intern director that wanted to gut it from the inside out.
Wow.
And so he was upset when they hired me. And so when I looked at what was happening, everything the board said that he shouldn't be doing, he was doing. And so when I stepped in, I started calling like, this is not right, this is not right. And he backed away without any information. So I had to, you know, I had my work cut out for me, digging into stuff and
Wow.
this, that, and the other thing. But I got through it. And like I said, I went to the county, then I went to the state. That Miracles needs to still stand. We're not going, like Whoopi Goldberg said in
Yeah.
The Color Purple. We may be ugly and we may be poor, but dear God, we here.
We here.
And we here. We ain't going
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
So, you know, dug our heels in. That 4 staff now is a staff of 30 plus.
Wow.
That 112 income is now over 2 million a year. You know, so I got excellent people on my staff that just suit up and show up for
Yes.
Miracles today.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
have our lumps and bumps and
Yeah.
ups and downs, but we're helping the folks.
Wow.
Because our door swings from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at
Yeah.
night. And with all the work that we do, it's just not about recovery services or renting out a space for meetings.
Yeah.
It's about peer services, contingency management, housing, clean clothes, brand new clothes, permanent, transitional, supportive, stabilized housing. We just brought 3 houses online that between the state and the county helped us purchase
Right on.
for our community. I'm renting out another house to do Oxford houses. We have a stabilization house. We have permanent housing at Miracles upstairs. We have permanent housing at Miracle Central in conjunction with
Right.
City Central Concern.
Right.
So we're climbing that mountain that I visioned when I first walked through.
Yeah,
the
that was my next question to you. Because I'm hearing you. You know, the past was, it wasn't so much that it was dark, but it was difficult to get resources.
Yes.
You know, and remember being in the profession myself, being a part of a team that brought the certification program to the state of Oregon and the state of Washington. We realized that there wasn't, and then after a while, the billing process for the treatment modalities was billing us right on out the game. I mean, we was from 45 minutes down to 15 minutes. Couldn't find the treatment services. The budgets was going out of the state, the federal, yada, yada, yada. So you inherited at a really interesting time.
Absolutely.
You know?
You know, regardless of that condition though, you can, you know, if you've been in Northeast, you know, you're 30 years old now this year.
Miracles is 33 years old.
33 years
Yeah.
old. The one consistent, regardless of the climate and the culture and stuff, is that foot traffic in and
Yes.
out of Miracles. You would always see, you know, this street could be empty sometimes, or as John alluded to, there were some dark patches that we
Yeah,
went through here, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
that foot traffic in and out of that club was always consistent. I would say that.
So then,
Participation was always there.
Was always there.
Yeah.
And then there was the real men, and there was a lot of us that had some control of the helm and this and that. But then, sister, you came in and just changed, rocked the world. I mean, you know, just, you know, and I'm thinking about all the services that Miracle. So, And so my question that I really want to ask you is, what was the motivation? What gave you the bigger plan? What did you see when you came in? You
Well,
know that.
let me tell you something. When I walked out of the prison in 2000, October 19, 2000, when I walked out of prison, my first stop was Stay Clean, the late great Stay
Right,
Clean,
right.
where they gave me a bed to
Right.
sleep. But then my next stop was Miracles, because that's where I knew the African American
all them.
community was. So that was my stop, sitting there all day long till it closed at night, then going home, because what I wanted to do was stay clean. Because while I was in prison, they took my children from me. And they adopted one out and told me I'd never be the mother to the one that was deemed for long-term
Care.
foster care. And so when the judge told me that, I was going to make her out to be a liar. Absolutely. I wasn't able to get the one that was adopted out, but I did get my son out of services 3 years later. And he came home, and I reminded that judge of what she told me to motivate me to get my son back. And so from there, I haven't had to look back. Miracles has been a staple in my recovery for the last 26 years.
Yeah, community.
Yeah, and a staple in my recovery, because when I don't know where to go, I know how to get to Miracles. I know how to get to Miracles. And I'm a firm believer that Narcotics Anonymous has helped me, because Narcotics Anonymous has been based in meetings in the Miracles Club. So, that being said, if I'm going to step up to the helm, and I went and I got this education, these 2 master's degrees, and I'm doing all this, then why can't Miracles be bigger than what it is?
So you saw the vision.
The vision.
The
Like
potential
the
for
vision is
capacity,
bigger than what it is right now.
Yeah.
So I stepped in, we repainted walls, we changed some stuff around, and put some pretty colors in there. Like you walk in Miracles, it has bright blues and hues, and all the old timers on the walls and all of that, because I refuse to change that. But it's a place for us as African Americans to come get our recovery, and the fact that if you want to come get your recovery, we also got some services for you.
Yes.
Because
and
you got other organizations.
Of care.
And you have generational recovery people though too.
Absolutely.
You have some, as you alluded to,
As
33 people
Yeah.
for
Tell us a
33
little bit about
years.
your guests. Yeah. Tell us about you brought
as-
your
It
guests.
covers like Miss Kayla.
Yeah, was Miss Kayla sitting here. Her aunt was part of recovery. Her aunt brought her here. So when she stepped in, she needed a little bit of help doing some stuff, but that's her story. I'll let her tell that
Well,
as we move forward with that.
Yeah.
Let's get to that then.
Let's get to
Let's talk about it.
Come on, let's get over there quiet, dude.
Encyclopedia.
Yeah. What's this lady? Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome
So,
to the house. Yeah.
What was your last straw moment, Miss Kayla? What got you to Miracles?
My aunt actually did. She was clean for like 4 years. And I came out here, and she worked for Brown Hope then, and then she started at Miracles. So she brought me there one day, and I just loved it. Like, I seen people that looked like me who were clean, and it just made me look at Portland a little different from when I first got here.
It was one of them deserts.
Yeah.
A sea of old fat.
Yeah, and I was like, I just used to sit in the house all the time. But once I finally got there, I met Miss Julie, and I started volunteering at Miracles with my aunt. And we were going out downtown, passing out like clothes, Gatorade, and water. And I would just do that every day with her. And then I started going to meetings with her there. And then from there, Miss Julie gave me a job. So I was working 20 hours. But I would just come every day, show up, and just try to help out as much as I could. Even though I was working 20 hours, I think I stayed all day.
Yeah.
Needed someplace to be. I don't have.
Yeah, I stayed there all day. And then Miss Julie gave me another position, and I started working full time there. And I started to do what I originally was volunteering doing. And I just fell in love with that, helping people and providing fresh new clothes for people. It was just they were so thankful, and you never really see that out of houseless people that get treated poorly, but for somebody to show up for them and give them food and give them water and Gatorade, new clothes, and they're excited to see my auntie's Jeep coming down the street because they know we're coming every day. It just was something that I fell in love with.
So how'd you get here? I mean, what was you coming out to life or what?
So it was Kansas City.
I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
You got wrapped up into.
I got wrapped into a lot in Kansas City. I was with my boyfriend at the time, 2019, and he sold drugs and was into the streets, so I was with him every day.
Yeah.
We were at a stoplight and a car drove past and shot our car up over 100 times.
Wow.
He got shot 18 times and he passed away in the car. I got shot 8 times, but I was able to get up. Like, I got up, I fell down, and I laid there for a while, and something just told me to try to get back up. So I tried to get back up again, and I could walk. So I walked across the street, and a guy pulled out of like a drive-through and put me in his car and drove me to the hospital. I passed out as soon as I got to the hospital, and I woke up. They had cut my stomach open and get the bullets out. And that was kind of like a turning point for me, but I was drunk and I didn't feel anything, and I was still drinking while I was in the hospital just to try to numb what I couldn't handle.
Yeah.
So my aunt tried to convince me to come here. I came for about a week and a half, but I didn't like it, so I went back home. And then about a year or so later, I just had enough, and I was just like, I need to be around love. I need to be around something positive, something new. I had 3 children, so I just wanted to live for them. I had more purpose than just to be stuck in the streets all my life.
Girl,
what was that awakening? What was that? Was it a?
It was like a.
Was there a?
It was like me looking at myself. I can remember me laying on the ground, but it was an outer body experience, and I could see myself, and I kept telling myself, like, you have to try to get up. To do something more for yourself, for your kids, you gotta try to get up. And from there, I was like, I gotta do something different. And I had a lot of support from my aunt because she loves me so much. So
that love is magic, isn't it? And don't think for one second, Julia don't see the magic in you.
Yeah, she does.
And believe it or not, I think you just won the magic of everybody in this room, right? The fact that you get up, walk away, been there, done that. But, I hear that whole aspect of resurrection. Whenever you hear that point that you had that moment that something in you told you to stand up. And so I appreciate that. Girlfriend, I am so glad you are here today.
Thank you.
It makes such a difference. I mean, when you hear the story behind what makes people motivated to do the things that and we're glad you're here in Portland. You hear? So, but Julia, I know, sister, you saw something in this young lady that's magical at this point in time.
Ladies, I'm just curious, like, so Miracles Club, Clean and Sober Club and stuff like that, but, everybody who comes from the world of addiction, John and I talk about this, at some point, if you're deep enough into it, there's a criminal thinking behavior that come with it, which lands us in jail, lands us, different things. How does Miracles Club address that kind of thinking behavior? It's one thing for the addiction, which is, again, a behavior, but how do you begin to transition from the very smart people, right? Criminals are smart people, but like, how do you turn that to
addicts are smart people.
Right.
Just think of all the work we had to do to stay high.
Right?
Like, that wasn't easy.
Get in opinion for sure, don't you?
And put them same skills. Transferable skills.
So how do you do that?
What we do is we have certified peer support mentors.
Okay.
So they have lived experience. There's a criminal element, there's a recovery element, there's addiction, the disease element. And so we have people that come in with all of that. And so when you have a client come in and we're looking at it, it's okay to call people on their stuff. It's okay to say, something's got to change.
Yeah.
You can take that energy and put it to you moving forward, or you can stay stuck where you're at. And you can continue to do what you do And then when you come in and tell me, or you call us and say you in jail, so we gonna tell you right where you supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like for real. You right where you supposed to, until you ready to do something different like this young lady did. She was ready to do something different. Her aunt helped her. She brought her to a place where there's an opportunity to do something different. So now here she sits, you know, a changed person. Does that? A person told me that I'm a wolf. I'm not a lamb. And I see it. Because I'm still, you know, I still have that mindset. Like, you know, I can watch stuff that's something that somebody that's, you know, doesn't, like in the grocery
Slicking,
store.
as John said, something slicking.
Yeah. I walked up to a ATM machine one time, just fresh out of prison. And the people had left their debit card in the machine. And had pushed in the pin, the code. So it was like, do you want the card back or not? I started to say, no, let's move forward, right? Because
the transaction ain't over.
The transaction ain't over. But something said, push that return.
Yeah.
And I took it in the bank and I said to him, I handed it to the lady, and you tell them, I told him, you tell whoever this belongs to that they need to be lucky I'm not the person I used to be.
Wow.
Right? Like, so life changes. If you're working on yourself, you got to work on the inside.
Yeah.
Because the outside going to fix itself.
Hello.
It's the inside that you have to work on. And so with my mentors that work at Miracles, they're working on the inside so they're able to give to somebody that ain't began to work there yet. Kayla's going to give to somebody that hasn't begun to work there yet. Because we have people with our contingency management, they just come in for that gift card every week. Ain't doing nothing different. Oh, they need a pack of cigarettes. They need this. I need my rent paid. I need this. I need that. But what are you doing different? Because see, we're not doing handouts. We're doing hand-ups. Right? So you got to come. We're going to meet you where you're at, but we're expecting you to reach your hand out and say, can I come to where you're at?
Hey, welcome to this episode of Black Bee Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Care Oregon, who's been dedicated to making healthcare work for everyone for the last 30 years. And the Oregon Health Authority, coming together for change. Because when it comes to health, we're all connected.
I didn't have the experience or the know-how. It was because of the color of my skin and the woman that I was. So, and I peeped that, right? So I said, that's what they kept seeing, the wolf, right? And so what I said was, okay, so I got to do something different. So I left there and I went to a Black organization for less money. But it was okay because they were paying me enough to pay my bills. And I wasn't even there 6 months before I started getting raises, recognition, you know, for who I was, right? And so, and that was SEI. And so they recognized who I was. And then from there, I went to a Black treatment program, was called Empowerment Clinic, as the clinical director there. And from there, I haven't had to look back.
Was Sam working for that place at the time you went there?
No.
Okay.
Sam, you're talking about Central City.
Central City, Yeah,
Sam was working there when I was there. But then I went to Empowerment Clinic. They shut down, and I went to VOA as a clinical supervisor. And then Ray Leary,
I remember Ray,
a wonderful man, said, I need a program manager. Okay. So I went over there for a little bit while I was working with Volunteers of America. And then Michael Booker, rest his soul, passed away.
Right.
And Ray said, so when you're going to Miracles, you're going to stay here. He was kind of like.
Yeah, you're perfectly suited for that. Well, you was perfectly suited for that job, though. You know?
So I applied for Miracles as the ED. And my friend kept telling me, apply for Miracles, apply. No, I was too scared, right? No. So I applied and I got the job.
Yeah.
Uniquely qualified.
Yeah, she was uniquely qualified for it.
And so I got the job and I haven't looked back since because, you know, what I believe in, something that touched me when you said the thing I say to staff all the time and anybody, Miracles is unapologetically Black.
Yeah.
And we ain't making no excuses.
And we wasn't making no
excuses
excuses about it when we founded it. It was not
we're
about
not
that.
making no excuses.
No.
So the staff knows that. We're a family environment. Like she brings her
Generational,
kids.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
nephew's there
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
he's not in school.
Yeah.
People are able to bring their kids to work. It don't matter. And we're a very family oriented environment. Even we fuss with each other, we fight with each other, we
Yeah.
do all of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we love one another and we
Yeah.
understand the mission.
Right.
And I always tell them, if you don't understand the mission or this is not where you want to be, I will pull a card to get you someplace else without any questions.
You go roll them up. Huh?
Yeah, no, I'm not being mean. If this is you ain't feeling it, then let me help you get a job. So, because I'm not just gonna fire you, I'm gonna help you move on if that's what's warranted. But we gonna keep on doing this.
Let me ask you a question now. I mean, because it wasn't always so easy, right? I mean, it's apparently what was the turning point that you see in the industry or even in the treatment world? Was it something significant that changed? Was it a measure? What turned the faucet on? What did you recognize? Because it wasn't always resources out there available for us to do the things that you're doing today. And I mean, you're doing some wonderful things. I mean, big time things. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars in transactions.
Tens of
What
millions.
what happened? What was it?
What
that was
happened was
significant?
when you look at it, right? Kayla needed some treatment. Other people need some treatment. Well, they can't get the treatment, right? The only treatment you can get is in the mainstream treatment center, which are very
Or
far
institutions.
yeah, and it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to get enrolled in them.
Yeah.
Like, so what about us as African Americans? Once you get enrolled and they say you're resistant, you're this, you're that, you're too aggressive, and then they put you out.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to figure out, or understanding the culture you come from,
Mhm.
because I raised my voice or because I may not want to talk the way somebody else wants to talk, because and then I got to be discharged because you ain't trying to understand where
you
I'm
could
coming
do outpatient.
from. You ain't trying to understand
Yeah.
my historical and
Uh-huh.
generational trauma.
Yeah.
And especially here in Oregon,
Yeah.
you ain't trying to understand that, but I got some trauma here,
Yeah.
because I can walk in the store and get
Yeah.
followed around, and the white man down the street,
Yeah.
down the aisle, is robbing you guys blind,
Yeah.
but you steady watching
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and I have
Ain't
no
that the
intentions
truth?
on
Yeah.
stealing nothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of trauma,
Yeah.
and so when we can't get the treatment we need, who's going to make it available to
Yeah.
us? So we don't do treatment, we do peer services, but we welcome anybody in, but our focus is the African American and getting them the services that they need so they can
Right.
move forward.
The supportive services.
The supportive services.
treatment.
So
Yeah.
So
and recovery is awesome, and there's been a lot of great stuff. But John, let's move to some of these tough issues here that.
well,
you
I don't
wanted
know
to
if they're
talk
tough
about.
issues because I think the whole issue around what the crisis are today of Oregon is this fentanyl crisis. What
Well,
are you guys looking at as
yeah.
as what?
Fentanyl is killing, and it's
Yeah.
killing us at a more alarming rate than it
Yeah.
is other folks.
Yeah.
They're noticing that the young white kids are dying downtown
Right.
on fentanyl, but we're dying indoors.
Yeah.
We're dying indoors because we're not on the street. We're not all on the street. But fentanyl is killing us.
Yeah.
You have some black folks that take a hit and it got fentanyl in it. They think it's crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fentanyl and they're dying. They're shooting it up. But the bottom line, fentanyl is real. It's here and it's in everything, and it ain't going nowhere.
It's in
Yeah.
everything.
It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So there needs to be education. There needs to be that street outreach. Here's a fentanyl test kit for your drugs. Here's the Narcan if you do get OD on the fentanyl. Here's what we're doing. That's what Kayla was talking about. Her and her auntie were going out giving that stuff out because we know we're dying.
Yeah.
But there ain't nothing we can do about it until the government starts doing things about it, right? Like, I hate to go back to this, but there was a war on drugs for the African American, Latino, and Native Americans out there. So not too long ago,
Damn,
right?
hello.
And it didn't change things
Yeah,
overnight.
it sure
It
didn't.
took them years to
Yeah,
decimate our
right,
communities,
right,
right?
with it,
Well,
right,
when
right.
Measure 110 came about, they wanted it to change everything right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
If the war on drugs took a while to decimate our communities, what makes you think Measure 10 is going to make it go away in 18 months? It's going to take time. We went to Portugal to see how Portugal did this. It took them 4 to 8 years for them to see that upswing happen.
Really?
So we're trying to make the upswing, but it ain't working. It ain't working.
Yeah.
Well, let us work. Let us do our work, because the African American community has gotten better. And if you go downtown now, they saying it's because of Measure 4002.
Yeah. Right.
That the streets are being cleaned up. No, I beg to differ. Before 4002 was enacted and Measure 110 was doing its work,
Right.
the bottom line is there's 30% less crime downtown now,
Right.
because there's agencies out here with services to help people rather than have send them to do those petty crimes. They can come get a gift card for $15 for that cigarette that they was stealing out the store, and you can come get some more services. The fentanyl is real. It ain't going nowhere. Just like the crack was real, just like the heroin was real, just like the meth is real. It's all real, and it's decimating our communities.
It is, Miss Julia, and right here in our, so Miracles Club is on MLK. John's office has been on MLK for 20 years on various parts of MLK. We had an incident recently where my purse was stolen out of it. We represent a lot of businesses too, and they're frustrated, right?
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying. It's going to take time, and you don't get that far into a situation to not take some time to get out of it. But we kind of keep our heads down and stuff until the trauma comes to us, right? And so a purse got stolen, so we went on the
rampage.
Yeah, we were like,
we
catch him.
hunters.
Right?
Yeah.
We became our own
they
wolves,
stole our
right?
shit. Let's go get them, right?
Yeah.
So we thought, well, we're in proximity enough. Let's see if we can catch him, right? It must be over here. And we started rolling up and down MLK, and certainly there are some improved parts, right, compared to what it used to be. But we made it down to that end at that Portland Inn, or actually John saw somebody who had matched the description of the folk that had taken our purse. He's like, oh, here's camouflage pants and this, that, and the other. And we watched him, and then he meet a girl, and then the girl turned out to be a prostitute, and she took off a sweatshirt and went, walking down that boulevard and came back here around by the VA and headed that way north, right? And so we were kind of tracking. And we got to the Portland Inn over there on Columbia Boulevard and that McDonald's.
That went down the
And
intersection.
it was some kind of, outer world fiasco going on. The dumpster was way overflowed. There was cars in the parking lot that had been half, I always say half eaten. Looked like they're eating the cars. We went, kind of scoping the purse, went behind there. And there was another just kind of filth, right? Homeless camp, but filthy, right? And it was just like, what's that show, Beyond the Thunderdome? Mad Max. It was a Mad Max scene. And I'll never forget it. We were looking, and this guy was just standing there, no shirt on. It was hot. It was hot that day and stuff. And he, John was like, would you look at that? And he was drinking a Starbucks. Well, I shouldn't say that, but he was drinking an iced coffee, and it was coming out the side of his neck as he was drinking it in. So I was just
it was
like,
almost demonic.
and this was MLK, and we were just like, wow, this has gotten to a very extreme level, and it's right
It's the
outside of
fentanyl
our
world.
it's right outside of our front door. So when you're seeing scenes like this and stuff like that, I mean, and you hear the pushback from the businesses, how can we address that?
I'll tell you what. I was at a round table, and there was a lady that owned a hotel, and she was literally in tears about having to lock the doors to not let the people in because they were just, in front of her business, and people couldn't get in, and they were causing chaos and da-da-da-da-da. And so we gave her our card and said, anytime you have somebody in front of your business that you cannot unlock your door, we'll be 15 minutes away. Here's our card. Call us. Do you think we've got a call yet?
No.
So it's easier to cry about the problem than to get into the solution.
Yeah.
What's the solution?
Yeah.
We, like I said, our door opens from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Our cards are out there.
Right.
We're here.
Right.
If there's not somebody there's somebody there, right? Mentor might not be there, but there's somebody at the front desk. There's a meeting there. There's something going on. Call us. we'll come.
Yeah.
But we don't get the calls. I don't
Yeah.
know who's getting them,
Yeah.
but it's not us because we have 5 vans. We have a truck. We're available to go do. We have a whole
So
outreach
you're
team.
on a call list, like
No,
an
no,
emergency.
We try to get on them,
list, or-
but nobody calls
The
us.
outreach, yeah. You got
Nobody
outreach.
calls. Yeah, we
you
got outreach
crisis
team.
unit,
You see our
obviously.
billboards,
Yeah.
Miracles Outreach.
Well,
Okay.
really.
We don't get the calls.
Crisis response.
We have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
We have to go out and find
Yeah.
East Portland, Dawson Park, where our people are, right? We go out and we do outreach, but we don't get calls. Hey, this is what's going on down there. Can you
Right.
come help us?
And that's great. I mean, we need to know what that information is. Could you want to tell them a little bit about where to get that information from?
There's your lady right
Yes.
there.
So we usually go downtown. We go to Dawson Park. We'll give away a harm reduction bag. It has cards in there. It has all information about miracles. If you can want to talk to a mentor, anything, you can walk in anytime. We also have a program. It's called Peer CM. You have to be actively using to even be on it. So it's a program for people that are on fentanyl or meth, and you just want to work on yourself. Even if you don't, you want to come in and get a gift card, we'll give you a gift card every week. Once you start the program, we'll then start you up on another one where you can make a goal to go to a meeting. If you go to that meeting, you'll get your $20 gift card. You make your goal, you get a $30 gift card at the same time. If you
Wow.
do 2 goals in one day, you'll get 2 30s plus your 20.
So you incentivize them also,
Yes. Yeah.
toward recovery. Yeah.
Are you
So
seeing
we're giving
conversion?
yeah, well, no, it's called contingency management. We're going to give you, if you take 2 steps forward in your life, we're going to make sure that we recognize that, and we're going to give you something so that you can take 2 more steps, and then 2 more steps, so that at the end of this, hopefully, you'll be in recovery and wanting to do something different.
Right. So you got some motivation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
So tell us how do you get a hold of you and your services?
We do have a number. I don't know Miracle's number by heart.
503-248-8559.
Say it again. That's Miracle's phone number if you need help.
503-248-8559. Miracle's front desk number.
Got you.
And
Now-
then we're also right here on MLK. The doors are always open. People are always outside. So you could just walk right in.
4200 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
4200 Northeast Martin Luther King Boulevard, y'all. That's the address. You need to show up. If not, call somebody. You just heard the phone number. The phone number was again?
503-249-8559.
So when I think about the conversation that you've been having, Kayla, I mean, what's on your heart right now that you would like to share with your listeners about the program and about what you're doing and the work that you're doing right now? What would you like to say to them?
Just show up. We'll show up for you if you show up for yourself. You come in, we're going to make sure you got a meal. We're going to make sure you get some clothes. We're going to make sure, even if you're not ready to get clean at that moment, but you just need a little bit of love, we got that there at Miracles.
Right on. And I think that's what it's all about, Julia. You thinking then it's about loving the people that you
It's
love.
about loving the people.
Yeah,
Because, see,
yeah.
I came from there.
Hey, girl.
I came from there.
Yeah,
So I
talk to
know
me.
what it's like to get turned away without anything, right? Not, the looks,
Yeah.
the this, the that.
Yeah.
So we don't do that.
Yeah.
You come in, sometimes we have to ask people to leave because they're not willing to accept anything that we have to offer, and they're kind of smelling up the place.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we'll give you clean clothes, allow you to change into something that, so you can have a little bit of dignity, right? Like, and because, like I said, I came from there. I know what it's like to be in the streets on those levels of dereliction, the animalistic levels. I know what it's like, not having a pot to piss in, a window to throw it out. I remember that, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Sure. Was there a parallel? Because what I'm hearing today is that y'all are not so much. You're gonna get treatment where you get treatment. The 12-step modality. You got the rooms. The program comes to the rooms. People need to show up. Blah blah blah. But what I'm hearing is y'all are a supportive cast. Miracles have become that insulation that you need to feel supported to get through this. Now, were you ever a believer in culturally specific treatment modalities, or are you just
Always
treatment
have
for,
been.
yeah, you and me
Always,
both.
always have
You and me
been.
both.
Because I can understand her if she comes in, right? Because we look alike,
Yeah.
right? It's the person where you come in and you get the looks like you don't belong here.
Tell me,
like
girl.
so I
Yeah.
know I'm not going to get the help I
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
because they looking at me.
Yeah.
They didn't already
Yeah.
judge me when
Yeah.
I walk through
Yeah.
the door.
Rather
So
just perceived
yeah,
or real.
yeah. And if I come in and you already judge me, what's going to happen when I walk behind the door and there ain't nobody that look at me,
Yeah.
looks like me?
Yeah.
They going to treat me the same way because I have a historical, generational trauma, let alone the trauma from living on the streets. So that's levels and levels of trauma that's hard to get through. So if you're not going to love me through my trauma,
or understand it,
or even try to understand my trauma, then what are we going to do here? You're going to push me back out to the streets because I don't want to hear all that mess you trying to talk to me about.
Miss Julia, so you did go to jail, right?
Absolutely.
And now that, there was the conversation about decriminalizing, drugs, and then so we tried it, and then people didn't like the way it was working, and so now they recriminalize it. Is there a way, I guess, really for, like, how do you think the law enforcement and the recovery community can live together? Like, are they mutually valuable to each other? How do they work?
Well, it's like this.
best?
Okay, so I'm going to just give you a little bit of history. Can I do that?
Yeah, come on.
Okay, so when Measure 110 was enacted, right, they were supposed to be giving out tickets. Go get services, take your ticket. If you go get the services, then we'll do away with the ticket.
Right.
Well, why was it that in Josephine County, which is predominantly privileged people, they gave out 200 something tickets in Josephine County, right? So the people had the opportunity. Multnomah County, the most populated county in this state, gave out 10 tickets.
Wow.
So where were the tickets at? Where was the help? It seems to me, and this is just me, that the police said, "Well, if I can't arrest you for drugs, then I ain't gonna do nothing at all. Let you go, right? Go kill yourself."
Yeah. Right.
Right? And then it's the fact that, okay, so they're going to give out tickets and you got a black guy and a white guy doing the same thing on the same corner. The police stops the white guy, gives him a ticket, offers him something, but the black guy, I'm going to give you a ticket, go around the corner, give you another ticket, go around the corner, give you another ticket. So you got 3 tickets. Now I can take you to jail.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
there's an inequity.
There's always been an inequity in Portland, in Oregon, period. And I'm not, trying to down Oregon because I live here, but there is an inequity here that destroys us. And let's talk about this. Let me go back to why miracles came about.
Right.
You can help me with this.
Come on.
Because Black people in Oregon were recovering.
Right.
But the only places to go into recovery or get recovery was the Pass Club, the Personalities Club across the river,
or the
URS Club, the Lano Club.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't welcome there.
Yeah.
As an African American.
Right.
You just weren't welcome. So some brothers got together and said, we're going to open up the Miracles Club.
Right.
Whatever it was called then, whatever.
Yeah.
Black people had a hub to go and recover together. And we've been standing ever since.
Right.
The reason why Miracles came about is because the inequities, even in recovery, we were not welcome.
Right.
So now we got Miracles, and all are welcome. We don't discriminate against any, but it's for the African American recovery, but we don't turn anybody away. We don't say you can't. And when you come in, you're welcome to come in. I don't care what color, black, woman, man, woman, beast, or child. You're welcome to come into Miracles and get recovery.
That's right, Jim.
So saying that, when we come to the inequities, now they got the 4002 where you get a ticket or you go to jail, you go to deflection or you go to jail. Guess how many people been through that deflection?
How many?
On a weekly basis, maybe 1 or 2.
Really?
The most they've seen is 5. Now, this is Multnomah County.
Yeah.
You know what downtown looks like. You know
Right.
what East Portland looks
Right.
like. You see all
Right.
these people. So guess who's going to jail?
Black folks.
And the people, and then they have a criteria that says the only thing that you can do to get deflection is have a possession charge.
Yeah.
Now, like I've said many times in the leadership meetings, when I first started using, I used in my house.
Right.
I wasn't on the streets.
Yeah.
When I got to the streets, it's because I had been put out of my home. I didn't have a pot to piss in, a window to throw it, and I was committing crimes.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got downtown, I had much more crime on my record than a possession charge because I was doing petty crimes,
Gotcha.
felonies, and everything else to get my drugs.
Right.
So if the only thing you can have to get deflection is a possession charge,
You ain't
that's
getting-
why there's
yeah.
nobody going to deflection
Gotcha.
right now.
Right. And I would, and Julia, with the history of me being a treatment professional and mental health professional, I would have concurred with you that when treatment first came to this state, it was real clear that there was a need for a culturally specific treatment modality. Now, Bill W. and all of them was talking about one treatment fits all kind of reality. And we were seeing the realization for the need to be able to come in and see additional realities because we knew that there was some sense of inferiority that was going on in them rooms that was turning people back out into the streets, And they was figuring, well, shit, if I, ain't no need me sitting in here feeling this kind of shit. I can go out here and victimize your ass in the street, and at the same time, that cycle. After you victimize somebody, you start victimizing yourself, right? And so it was real important. And then there was that process to where we all began to see that the only place you can get treatment in this state was you need to go to jail to get it.
That's right.
And that was the only place that was more money was flowing for the treatment modality. So, girl, I'm sitting here right now, and I'm in awe right now, to be honest with you, because of how I'm hearing this. The miracles have morphed, and what it has morphed into, and it's really has morphed into the treatment part of it is once the person has taken the initiative to say, I got a problem. I recognize that I'm powerless over that problem. They get on that road. Then they need to be able to be supported on that road, that it ain't a lonely destination. It ain't a place where I'm traveling it and dredging it by myself. And the part that's making me very emotional today and in that reality is to know that that's available to us. Because when we came in, there was none of that stuff available to us. If we couldn't get along with Bill W., then we had issues. You know what I'm saying? And then NA came in, and then it was a big difference, right? It started. But then people started talking. There was more black people coming in on the NA side than the Bill W side, right? And so we said, well, we need to do something about this, right? And then miracles came into existence, and we used to love going out to the beach with each other. We, having our little gatherings, and that was something to look forward to, come into the treatment process, you be in those rooms, and then you knew people in the neighborhood that could support you. So, yeah, hey, y'all have come so far, man. I am so proud of miracles and where they've come, Julia, under y'all watch. I am so blessed to have y'all in this episode, in this podcast today, because the world needs to know the work that y'all are doing. And for me, just to know that you can have something to get a pack of cigarettes from, that I don't have to steal to go do that, and I can show up in them rooms, and I know that there's y'all over there, and I can come over there and see y'all to get a place to stay, get a plate of food to eat, get a cigarette, get whatever I need to stay on the road. And that's, to me, is just beyond.
Don't smoke.
Hey, well, that's okay. You
and that's-
look, you
but that
got to
goes
choose your
along-
poison.
yeah, like
one
you
or the
said.
other, right?
And that goes along with our housing,
Yeah.
because we have a house for African American women.
Yeah.
We have a house for African American men to help them stay clean.
Right.
We have stabilization housing where you come in, you may not be clean, you can't use in the house, but you got a place to
bed to
rest
live,
your
that's right.
head.
Yeah, that's- yeah.
And like I said, we have 3 more houses coming online. One for the African American LGBTQ, those that
Right.
identify as other.
Cool.
That's up. We got this. We have it here for you.
Yeah.
Just come see us, because
Yeah.
we trying to reach for the stars for our people.
Y'all, you heard it. You heard it right here. This is we ain't mad at you, but we just certainly tried to get you the information. Hey, this is Black Beat Podcast. I'm John Washington. And listen here, y'all. We talking to miracles, y'all. And I ain't talking about just miracles. I'm talking about miracles. You know, I got a miracle sitting. I got two miracles sitting in here. And the road to recovery has never been easy. But I'll tell you what, miracles is making it a whole lot easier for you than back in the day. And y'all, I am so proud of y'all for the work that y'all doing out there today. And much respect to y'all. And we appreciate you coming in on this episode of Black Beat Podcast and sharing y'all wisdom. Much respect, y'all, and I appreciate you. You hear?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We welcome. Thank you for
This
having us.
concludes this episode of Black Beat Podcast, y'all. But look, y'all heard it clear about where to go. Miracles is on MLK. Y'all done heard the phone number 5 more times. Julie, you want to give it one more time?
503-249-8559, 4200 Northeast MLK Junior Boulevard.
Hey, look, if you need some help, look it. Only God can heal you of your addiction. But let me tell you something. Sometimes it's a lonely water out there, and y'all, if y'all need some love and support, and as you tread your way on the way home, because home is where you're trying to get to, guess what? Miracles got one for y'all. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.